Okay, we are recording. So, hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. And we're going to talk about goal setting, and because this is so critical in order to really get to the next level, whatever it may be, whether it's in your personal life or in your career. I find it critical, at least in my experience, to my success. So, we have here Yelena, and Yelena is one of our mentors and she's also a product leader. She has a lot of experience building successful product. She's a customer first mindset, and she loves building innovative product and new experiences and working with the customers, making them happy with amazing and engaging experience. And I'm Limor, and I'm the Director of Mentorship at Part of Fly. I lead the mentorship program here. So very nice to meet you all. And I know we cannot see you, but we have a chat box, and I want to encourage you all to write in the chat box whatever you have, questions for Yelena as she talked, and I'll do my best to facilitate and to ask your questions on your behalf. So without further ado, I suggest we'll start, Yelena.
Sounds great. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me. And it's a really great timing as we kind of starting the Q2 couple of days to talk about goal settings. Yes, we had some chances to kind of find ourselves in the beginning of 2021 and decide what is it we want to do. So there is no better time to start now. And as a product leader, setting up goals for my organization and for my teams is a natural cycle. We start from yearly goals and then we work on a quarterly goals. And it's not any different from your personal life. And that's what I would like to talk to you about today. So I would like you to start thinking about kind of some of the goals or something that's been top of mind for you, because we would definitely like it to be more of an engaging conversation and not me talking at you about the goals. So I have a couple of slides. So today we'll talk about a little bit about personal goals, career goals, and then I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. So without further ado, when we think about the personal goals, what are some things that come to mind? One of the things that has been top of mind for me, maybe in more of the recent years, has been how to find a work-life balance or work-life harmony. I have 2 kids and a husband, and this COVID times have been more and more difficult to step away from the computer. And setting up the boundaries and thinking about work-life balance has been top of mind for me. What are some of the personal goals that you wished you could get to? Maybe you can start typing in the chat, or maybe you can also unmute and we can kind of engage in a conversation in terms of the personal goals that you have wanted to achieve recently. Let's talk about them. Maybe we'll ask Limor. We know she runs, so Limor, talk to us about it.
I'm happy to start and share mine while we wait for others. I know it's a little bit sometimes intimidating to open up in public. So personally for me, my personal goals are related to my health. And I found out that one of the things that really contributed to my health, both physically and emotionally, is physical activity. However, it has been very, very challenging for me during COVID because the gyms has been closed the entire year. And I was really, really trying to work out, but not as successfully. So my goal was to get back in shape and really, to run regularly and to work out and keep myself fit. So it makes me feel better and also, helps me kind of de-stress.
So talk to us, so you set yourself a goal and how were you able to achieve it, or how did you work through getting there?
Yeah. So first of all, I like to visualize things in my head. So typically when I have a goal, I like to visualize how do I look like when I already got there. So I'm visualizing myself running, for example. Like, I was not very in good shape when we got back to the gym, so I was visualizing myself finishing the 5K and how I will look like, how I will feel, and then I'll put myself a goal. Okay, I want to run 5K in the next, whatever it may be, month, 1 month or 2 months, and then I'll start, deciding, okay, which days of the week I'm going to run and how much I'm going to try to run today. Like, I started with maybe 10 minutes and then increase the intervals every time.
That's amazing. So Lemore is a visual person, and she goes about setting her goals by visualization and imagining how it makes her feel. I'm more of a write it down kind of person. So for me, in order to achieve my goals, I need to write them down, and I actually need to have them on my desk in front of me. So in the beginning of the year, I sit down and I decide, okay, so what are some of the goals that I can set for myself? And what's really important is not to have too many, because you need to remember them. And the only way you can remember them if it's no more than 3 goals. And those 3 goals need to be together between the personal and a career goal. So you kind of can keep them top of your mind all the time. So when I was looking to find a work-life balance in my life, I have started by deciding, okay, so how I will get there, meaning what are the small steps that I can take that will get me there, and how can I record them on my calendar as well, or something that I can commit to. So some of the things that I started recording is block my calendar to leave work at 5:30 every day. So everyone can see on my calendar that I do not take meetings after 5:30. I also needed to break down and say, okay, now that we are not commuting, I cannot get up and get into the car and start driving. But what can I do? I will commit to doing yoga 20 minutes a day. After my workday ends and my family life begins, I spend 20 minutes doing yoga. Another very important thing for me was to block some time for lunch, because otherwise you roll from one meeting to another, you don't have time to eat, and that breaks your bad habits, or creates rather bad habits for you. And good night's sleep is something that's really important for me. Like Limor, I'm also a runner, but in order for me to run, I need to have a good night's sleep. So 1 hour before bed, no checking emails, and try to disconnect. And the last but not least is take a daily walk and find a time that's convenient for you to take a daily walk. So now we have a goal, and we have small steps that we can think about throughout the day or every single day. And it's something that we can keep on our calendars that remind us that we need to get there. So we see Martha also put in the chat that work-life balance and keeping in touch with her family and friends and by working remotely is something that's important to her. So Martha can think about how can she put something together if keeping with the family is keeping in touch with friends is important to her. Maybe she dedicates one evening and a week to spending time on Zoom with her friends or catching up on the phone. But that's time that she's not compromising on anything. Or maybe she feels okay to meet them. So maybe once a week, she dedicates a Saturday, a couple of hours on a Saturday or on a Sunday, go for a hike with them. And there is nothing that can stand in the way of that. And that what slowly but surely going to develop a habit and get you to the goal that you have, which will both balance your mental and physical state. Yeah. Is there anybody else who would like to share with us what their goals are on a personal level that we can work potentially through together, of figuring out from what your goal might be to how you might get there?
Yeah, feel free to share here. I think you can also, if you want to send a message directly, I think you should be able to. If not, if you prefer to stay anonymous, just let me know and I'll not say your name. I really relate to what you said, Yelena, about the calendar. I mean, for me, sometimes it seems artificial. Why? Put on the calendar, going to yoga or something like that. But I actually very relate to that, and it really helps me keep myself on track, right? To have those things on the calendar that I know that that's what I'm doing. And I really think it's helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe I can share. So another example we have here, complete SRHRM. I'm not sure what that is, but the second one is exercise more. So exercise more is definitely a great goal. And one of the other ways how I was in my life been able to keep that goal going is do it together with a friend. When you have a friend and it's a commitment, you are more likely not find excuses of getting out because you have a commitment. So that's another great way of keeping yourself to the goal. So go ahead, Limor.
Yeah, SHRM is a kind of a certification, so that's what Susie meant. And thank you so much for sharing. And we have Gina here also sharing that she has a personal writing project that she's trying to get started, and she thinks blocking time on her calendar will help.
That's really great. Think about, Gina, couple of other things, right? So if you set yourself couple of different things, maybe you can also commit off on writing a page and posting a blog once a month and stick to that. And another way how you can get there as well, if you make a public commitment. What if you write on your Facebook page or on your LinkedIn page that you are starting a writing project and you're committing to do that? Now you have kind of put it out there and you are going to be a lot more likely to do it because you have told the world that this is your goal and this is where you're trying to get to.
That I should adopt that and put on social media, right? It's a broadcast.
It's kind of a commitment we're making out to the outside world. So I have another example that I put in there just kind of to give you guys some other ideas of the personal goals. So one of the personal goals for myself that I actually have right now is I want to develop more of an investment acumen. I work and work and work all the time, but how do you make your money work for you? And so I decided, okay, so what are the few steps that I can take to that? And 3 things that I came up with as I kind of was thinking of developing my investment acumen is first, I will dedicate 30 minutes a day to reading about investments. The second one, I will, if you're familiar with Clubhouse, it's a new app where you can join a conversation so you can listen into people having other conversation. I thought, why don't I join monthly? Maybe one. I cannot probably commit to join any more conversations than once a month, but I can do once a month an investment conversation on Clubhouse. And my other goal that it's going to be measurable here as well is I want to double my investments by December 31st, which means I will take maybe $500 and try to make it $1,000 by the end of the year by using Robinhood. So here I have set up myself 3 measurable goals that can help me get there. And they're all small and achievable, nothing too crazy, but at the same time, something that I will keep at top of my mind and try to do on a regular basis. All right, so we talked a little bit about the personal goals. How do we think about career goals? So for that, I think that in preparation, Limor, when she was sending out the invitation, she asked you to do a little bit of homework, but let's do it together today a little bit as well. So setting up goals, especially career-wise, is kind of like taking a road trip, getting from point A to point B. So getting from where you are to where you want to be. So let's start. And I would like to ask you guys, and I have an example here, is list 3 or 4 words that you hope most people will use to describe you. And I have put some examples here for you that were some of my goals probably a couple of years ago of where I was trying to get to. So maybe here in chat, you can think, you can start putting some of the words of how you guys want to be described work-wise, or maybe some of other career goals that you're trying to achieve. And we can together talk through how we can get from point A to point B. Limor, maybe you can tell us also if you have some of the words that you wanted to use for people to describe you, or you hope how people will describe you.
Sure, I'm happy to share. So right now where I am at a change in my career. So I was in engineering leadership, and now I'm doing something completely different. So I started the mentorship program, and I have other initiatives I'm working on. So it's more I would say, a kind of an entrepreneurial path for me. One of the things that I want people to describe me is inspiring. I want to inspire people to make changes, to make bold moves in their lives, especially women, because I'm trying to support women. So inspiring is definitely one word. Supportive is another one. I want people to look at me and see me as someone who is supporting them in their career journey, in their life journey, and making a difference for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I have to think about two more, but those are the two that comes to my mind.
Let's see if we have anybody from the chat of how they want to be described as an examples. And I know it's really hard to come up with, but that maybe you can think about other inspirational leaders or some of the people that you are looking up to and how those people are described, or one big question that usually asked is, who do you want to be when you grow up, or where do you see yourself in 5 years, or you have a manager and you want their position or something else. So think about that and think about how others describe those people and what out of that resonates with you.
Yeah.
And go ahead, do more.
Yeah, one of the things, for example, for me that we have a comment. So Marta is saying, I'd like to be described as passionate, knowledgeable in my field, a mentor for others. That's great.
That's awesome. Resourceful and bridge builder. That's also great. Thank you, Gina. So now kind of the next step in our journey. So we know where we want to get to, or we know what we want people to describe us as. But now let's talk about and think about the feedback that that you're getting, and how are you being described right now. And maybe people think, great, you want to be an inspirational leader, but right now you are an executor, and you want to be a visionary and influencer, but people describe you as a poor listener, or you are too technical for being a leader. So those are all the things that a reality of it. So think about recent feedback as we kind of entering Q2. Performance management processes are usually being completed in Q1 in a lot of organizations. So think about what feedback have you gotten, maybe from your manager, or maybe feedback that you have gotten from your peers if you do 360-degree feedback at work, and what were some of those things that have been brought up. And most importantly, don't fixate on that, but know what the beginning is and think about it. How will you change it? And here we kind of will turn back into the same template that I have already shared with you before when we talked about the personal goals. So what are some of the small steps that can be taken in order for you to get there? And one example I wanted to use, and nobody said influencer, but maybe one example of the influencer we can go through, and then we can dive into others. If you want to be an influencer, one of the things that you can do is maybe you can start by reading the latest articles on your specialty from early in the morning, or you can write one LinkedIn article a month, and you can try to get 30 likes for each of your posts, or you can commit to writing one article with comments on Slack, or maybe it means that you can think about starting a group. But those are like kind of little things that you can make to get there. Or let's work through maybe Martha's example of she wants to be a mentor. So what are some of the things of how can you get there? So I also had a goal of being a mentor a couple of years ago. So one of the things that I've decided I will do, there's a lot of resources online that allow you to sign up for programs like actually Power to Fly and being a mentor here. So as I kind of see this opportunity, I raised my hand and said, I want to have a mentee. So I've been working with a mentee since last summer, which is a great experience. I've also found other mentorship opportunities, such as First Round, they have a mentorship program. I created a mentorship program at work to bring others to be mentors as well, and I had a mentee as well. So what are some of the small steps that you can take to commit to become a mentor for others? Let's work through another example of resourceful and bridge builder for others. If you would like to be a bridge builder, what are some of the steps that you can get there? So some of the top of mind things that come to mind is I want to connect two people a quarter together. So maybe you post on LinkedIn that you have this connection opportunities and or you're open to connecting people, or you join some of the groups, and a lot of groups on Facebook, for example. I know I'm a part of a lot of moms in tech groups as well as women in product groups, where people are looking for either interview buddies or asking people for advice of people that work in the different companies. So maybe that's going to be a commitment of joining those groups, and in those groups building connections between people. Or maybe it's again like kind of becoming a mentor as well, finding a mentee or two and helping those mentees also get connected to the people in your area and in your circle of influence. Or maybe it's as easy as maybe you're connecting some moms of younger kids with moms of the already grown up kids, and they can help them resolve their problems as well, or kind of give an advice at the right time. So those are kind of some of the examples of what have people put on here in terms of the goals that they're trying to achieve, and small pieces of how you can get there by breaking it down into achievable goals, achievable pieces of key results, and getting to them.
I wanted Elena to ask a few pre-submitted questions that we have. So one question we have: how to feel worthy of goals or able to achieve them if a totally new, ambitious, unfamiliar, and or scary path?
That's a great question. So scary path, it's only scary and unfamiliar because we're framing it like that. What if we take a step back and set ourselves a goal of getting to something that we really, really want? And how do we create small steps, right? It's all about the small steps, because small steps is what breaks it down and makes it more achievable. Let's say I wanted to go hike in Himalayas, and I wanted, and it sounds like a huge and ambitious goal, or and if I've never hiked before, it's going to be really, really scary. But what are some of the steps how I can break it down to get there? So I can commit to do one hike a week, and I can commit that every month I'm going to add an additional steps to hike further. I can also create myself a goal of learning everything about the equipment that I would need if I would go on a multi-week hike. And that would be the goal of starting to learn that. And if I set that goal out for a year, I will work backwards from that year of the goal of how can I get there. And the same with business goals as well. If I have an ambition to be someone, what are the steps, what are the organizations, what are the resources that I can get in order to get to my goal? And if they're small steps, they become less scary. And as you start making progress and staying with your goals, and you will grow more confident, and that goal that seemed scary to you in the beginning will seem very much achievable.
That's great. Really, I always like to compare the physical, challenge to challenges at work. To me, it's really helpful when I challenge myself physically, for example, with running. It helps me build the confidence also in myself that I can do things beyond, obviously the exercise steps, because, you stretch yourself every time a little bit.
Very, very, I completely agree with that. And I think the hardest part is also starting. because likely more I run, but I actually only started running a year and a half ago. I made myself a goal. Actually, my brother and I, he started running, and we decided that on my birthday, we're going to run 10K. And that was a really scary goal for me because I could not even run half a mile or a quarter of a mile at the time. But I decided I will start. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to get there or not, but I really wanted to get there. And committing to putting my sneakers on every other day and running a little bit at a time. I ran my first 10K for the first time last November, and it was really rewarding of getting from 0 to 10K. That's a huge goal. So getting started is the hardest thing, but you have to get through it. I think that if you read about the habits, they tell you that within 30 days you can develop a habit. So once you have a goal, try to do something for 30 days straight and not let yourself off the hook. And that is going to be something that's going to help you, no matter what your goal is, to slowly but surely get into routine of getting to your goal and feel inspired and feel that you can do it no matter what it is. If you put your mind to it, you will be able to get there.
I absolutely agree. Habits are, very, very powerful. There are so many things we do every day and we don't even think about them, right? So,
Yes.
and the new
And
thing,
it's always hard to start, right? It's really, really hard to start, and it's really hard. But once you're in routine, you will get there and you will feel a lot more inspiration to get going faster and take more things on.
yeah, by the way, one of the things I found very helpful, like for example, if you take running, is have someone accountable. Like you said, you started with your brother, and I found that I run with my husband, and occasionally, and I have a running buddy. So sometimes you need someone to keep you accountable, and that's like we have in the mentorship program. Like the mentor is accountable for you. So sometimes, if you want to challenge yourself, find someone who can help challenge you, and you'll feel you need to be accountable for your actions.
Or start telling your friends about even if you have if you have a career goal, start telling your friends about them, or start talking to your colleagues about them, that this is where you want to get to. Because one other thing that's going to bring you by telling people about it, people are going to be able to help you, people are going to be able to connect you, or people are going to maybe give you some piece of advice that's going to be super helpful as well. So continuously talking about where you want to get to is super powerful. One other thing I would say that in the past that I read is have your goals posted on a refrigerator. This is one place where you always end up in your kitchen. So posting your goals that you're trying to get to is remembering about them all the time is something super powerful that can help you achieve your goals as well.
Loved it. And we have one other pre-submitted question that I think is relevant to this part of the talk. What is the best way to set up goals in this uncertain pandemic environment? Just had my third position eliminated in a year.
Yes, the COVID has definitely brought a lot of uncertainty into our lives. And there are a lot of things that are happening around with people that we know and ourselves that we didn't expect. And we cannot control too far out in the future. But maybe something that we can do is we can focus on a week ahead. So how can you agree with yourself that maybe every Monday morning, what you are going to do is you're going to sit down and write small goals that you're trying to achieve for this week. And on Friday, at the end of the day, you can check in with yourself and see how were you able to get there. And maybe your goals will change from week to week. But it is easier not to look too far out, but kind of concentrate a little bit more on a time that you have a little bit more certainty about. That would be one thing that kind of comes to mind. Maybe somebody in the chat have something that worked for them during the pandemic and the goals that they were able to set up and how to get to them, and they want to share. Limor, any goals that you have set up for yourself in pandemic that were small and worked for you?
Trying to think what so definitely, I mean, the working out piece didn't work as well as I wanted, but I did force myself to work out at least 2-3 times a week. And I kind of, set myself, okay, I'm going to work out in the morning no matter what happens. So definitely, I mean, it partially worked because it was hard for me to kind of push myself. And trying to think what else. I tried also to keep myself somehow, eating healthier, although we were all the time at home and we didn't go anywhere. And like, okay, I'll have to eat at least once a day a salad or something like that. And with the work related stuff, I try to keep myself accountable to, keep pushing. Like for example, with the mentorship program, keep talking with a lot of women, keep hearing their challenges, and help getting this program more successful, more spread out. So just keep myself committed, even though there is a lot of uncertainty, and sometimes it may feel to me like I'm stuck, and I'm spinning my wheels, but just keep on moving and keep making slow progress, persistence, keeping doing the things I think that will help to grow this program is important for me to move forward.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. So when the pandemic started, there was a lot of uncertainty. So I worked at a startup, and there was a lot of uncertainty, and I didn't know where it was going to go. And I didn't feel like I had a control of my life. But one thing that I decided is I need something that I will have a control in. So I committed to myself that through pandemic, no matter what's going to happen, I will get up every morning at 6 a.m. and I will work out 5 days a week. And because that was something that I can control. And it didn't depend on my kids or anybody else. And so I put an alarm on, and I can report to you that it's been a year and I have not skipped one day. I got up, no matter how hard it was, I got up at 6 a.m. every morning. And that was something that I could control, that didn't depend on anybody else. And that's what made it great. And some of the other things is the commitment of spending time with your friends. Like me and my friends, we have a book club, and we have a commitment that no matter what, we are going to meet at least once a quarter to discuss a book, whether it's on Zoom or it's in person. That's something that we're committing to. So in those uncertain times, find something that is certain for yourself. And in terms of job seeking opportunities, again, maybe you can join Women in Product, or I don't know, whatever your specialty is, but there are groups of others who are like you, who are trying to get to the same goal, and having just conversations with them, regular check-ins on how things are going and what is working for them and what is not working for them and what companies are they looking at, might be something that could be helpful. A lot of times when we have people that can relate to what we're going through, setting goals together with them helps us to stay connected and maybe a little bit more motivated as well to move in the right direction.
Absolutely. One of the things.
Hi, Corinne. Welcome, joining us from Prague. Very exciting.
Yeah, and Corinne is another mentor, another relatively a new mentor in our community. I don't know if you had a chance to meet her, and she talked last week. She did an amazing talk last week. So Corinne, I'm very excited that you join us, and feel free to share any insights you have while we talk. First of all, Yelena, it's very impressive that you woke up every day at 6 a.m. I'm not a morning person, so for me, waking up early, and I do that sometimes to run with my buddy that kind of forced me to wake up early. It's extremely, extremely challenging. I can very much relate to what you said about meeting people and talking, people that have similar challenges. That's what we try to do in our networking event in Power to Fly. And also, I looked during the pandemic, because I was stuck at home all the time. I felt suffocated sometimes, without being able to meet anyone. So I looked for opportunities to network, and there are a lot of opportunities out there. So definitely I encourage everyone to reach out, find communities you can engage with. So you can really feel you're not alone, right? You're not the only person facing challenges. You're not the only person facing uncertainties. And find
Absolutely.
people who can support you, who can give you a piece of advice.
Absolutely. What are some of the other questions that we have, maybe from the group, that has been top of your mind that we can help you workshop through, maybe?
I don't see any other of the pre-submitted ones. Any questions from the audience?
We have a quiet group today.
Yeah, maybe it's too early in the day.
Maybe. Well, I want to thank you for your time, and I think that it's a great first step that you have even thought of the fact that you want to set up the goals and that you have joined us today to talk about it. We want to encourage you to write down your goals, think about the small steps of how you can get to your goals. And if you are working through something, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll be more than happy to meet with you and help you work through setting up your goals for yourself for 2021.
Yeah, and while because we are we have a little bit more time, I suggest let's start. If people are interested, let's share our LinkedIn profiles on the chat so we can connect with each other. And thank you so much, Elena. I'll just stop the recording and